Take a drink. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a regular stream brought to you by Tabletop Junkie. And today we are going to review Rebel Moon. And I think I have a photo for this. I don't know if I do or if I don't. I'm just going to apply an image here. And we're just going to go with it. Here's something fun to look at. Before we get started on this review, I'm not going to share any spoilers of the movie, simply just because you need to go watch it and see it for yourself, based on what I've seen. So, here you go. Okay. So, Rebel Moon. No, it's not as bad as, no, it's not as bad as Rogue One, sorry. Sparta Chris in the chat says everyone dies. No, that was Rogue One. You got that completely backwards. That was, I don't know. That movie I didn't care for just as much as I didn't really care for a few other Star Wars movies. But, well, we're not here to talk about Star Wars. We're here to talk about Rebel Moon. So let's get to it, shall we? So it was written and directed by Zack Snyder, which he's done some good films. I do like some of his films, such as for Zack Snyder, a couple of his films I do like is number one, 300. I did like that. Thought it was pretty flashy at the time. No, I can't watch it now, just because I've seen it a dozen times and call it good. And then Army of the Dead. I did like that one. But then again, I'm a zombie horror fanatic. So, yeah. They really stop the grasshoppers from stealing other... Okay. Anyway, moving on. Don't pay attention to the chat, folks. Let's pay attention to me. So, anyway, so me and Mrs. Tabletop and Sparta Chris sat down, and Witch King, cannot forget about him, did sit down and watch this movie. Now, regardless, let's get to a couple of things. It's got flashy color, some good moments in it, I think. Not very good on the script writing. There was a couple things from the beginning of the scene to the end, from the beginning of the first scene to the end of the last scene that I did not like, that I was disappointed in. But I gotta say, for a Zack Snyder film, it was okay. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen on the face of this freaking planet. Lord knows I sat through a lot worse films than this. And this film was able to take me in for a little bit. So let's go on what I liked about the film. I love the flashy colors. I love the idea that he had going on with it. I don't know which point he decided to... And then Mando stopped the villagers. Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, it has, once again, flashy color. It had some good ideal plot points to bounce off of. I don't know which point he decided to say, fuck all, I'm going to have a drink of tequila, because somewhere down that line, I think he kind of dropped that ball. So we're going to start off like... It's got a good storyline. No, it's similar to... It reminds me of Episode 4 of Star Wars a little bit, where, you have... You basically... You have a conflict with an Empire. Empire shows up. You get a little bit of backstory of the main character. Yes, it's Anthony Hopkins. So enjoy that, folks, as much as it is. Could have been better. Could have been Morgan Freeman, but Anthony Hopkins is good. He's got the, he's definitely got the voice now in his later years. So it's basically, it does have the tropes of a space opera. It has the good guys that are always outgunned. It has the overbearing Empire that is always got the most guns. It's got the sense of, oh, hey, yeah, here's the story. So you got the rebels, you got the Empire, and you got starships and a bunch of futuristic weapons in there. And you also visit from planet to planet. So it's got all the tropes of a space opera. Yeah, well, even the Empire had that from Star Wars. But let's not compare it to that. Um, so anyway, it's got all the fixings of a space opera. It's got all the tropes. All that is there, and it's not really beaten over your head. It does have a lot of flashy colors. It does have a lot of great costume design, and I have to give it my best thing. I have to tell this off to. It has space orcs. It has orcs from like fantasy in here, and I thought that was a great edgy thing for him to do. For one, everyone has heard the story that at one point that this was introduced to be supposed to be a Star Wars story, and then apparently he was turned down for it and go, yeah, that will never see Star Wars. So therefore he had to, he decided while I was writing this, I'm going to make it into my own thing. So to add in space orcs and some of his own costumes and stuff like that, that was actually very creative, and I did like that. It even has a space griffin in there, and I did like that. It has multiple people, them coming up with a rebellion on their own, and it just has some stuff. And honestly, I like the guy who let me think. What was his name? The bad guy. I'm trying to think. Ed Screen. It does have Ed Screen in there, and him as a bad guy, I do actually like. I love his roles. He does a very good job acting, and I've liked him ever since I've seen him in Deadpool and a few others. So, yep, I do gotta admit that he does play a pretty good general. So that's what I like about the film. Let's go into what I don't like about the film, which I hope it's not too harsh, but here we go. Lazy backstory. Everyone... Oh, the Admiral? Yeah, what do I call him? A General? Oh, well. Admiral. Whatever the hell his name is. Anyway. The leader of the bad guy ship. Yeah. Okay, so... Let's go in. Lazy backstory writing, which, I'm sorry, is lazy, because we get the main character's backstory, but everyone else's, we only get a small fragment, and go, what would you like, honor or revenge? And everyone picks with revenge, because this is really not a story about heroes. This is a story about those who were once heroes, and they've fallen from grace, and now they're trying to rise up and just take back what's theirs. And they don't really give a shit how they do it. Each character has a shitty backstory, or a very limited backstory, which I do not see them expanding on within 2 movies. Not gonna really like be able to cover all of that. Too many characters. There was way too many characters for. I mean, okay, so if we had to, as much as I hate to bring it up, there was, as much as I hate to compare it to Star Wars, I'm going to, because in Episode 4, we had Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca. Oh no, I think it was the same amount of characters, 2 androids and Princess Leia. So I guess there's 7, but we knew Princess Leia was the Princess of Alderaan that was kidnapped, so everyone had to save her. Luke was on a planet called Tatooine, and his father was a Jedi Knight, and Obi-Wan has decided to take him in and train him, but then decided to go help out the princess that the 2 droids brought to her. I mean, we kind of got a little bit more of a backstory in 2.5 hours, but we also got more of those backstories in 2.5 hours going into 3 movies. In this one, we didn't really get any of that, and we didn't get that really portrayed too well, and apparently this is going to be wrapped up in 2 movies, so I'm like, okay. So, yeah, character backstories are a bunch of crap. No good character backstories, or they're just severely limited. So that was a big thing for me. Another big thing is too alien flashy. He put an emphasis on a ton of aliens. I understand many other space operas have done that, But the problem that I have with that is, okay, so we do know that in this universe you have space orcs, you have people that look like they're humanoid pigs. You have a freaking, Spartacus calls this one a space tick, which takes the voice box of what looks to be a dead human being. And then it just has a couple random aliens here and there. Nothing too much. It introduces, what really ticks me off is it introduces an alien known as his name is King Leviticus, and I was severely upset over losing him as early as we did in the movie. I will say this: King Leviticus is only covered in a couple scenes, and that's it. We don't know anything about his race. All we know is his race supports chivalry and charity. You know, honor and charity, and that's it. And from my understanding, we only see him, and then his entire race is wiped out. So a bit of a spoiler there. I do apologize for that, but yeah, lazy backstories, lazy world building, and I think we've seen too many planets because each new person was on, like, so the first three heroes was on one planet while all the other ones were on different planets. Don't get me wrong, I did like the idea of seeing, like, let's see, there's like 7 or 8 of these guys. We saw like 5 additional planets on top of like 1. So about 6 or 7 different planets. I'm not sure how I felt about that, because I just think we weren't getting enough on each planet. One planet was obviously a mining colony that took over something from a race of spiders. Another planet was a Roman Colosseum that had space rats on it. I mean, we just didn't see enough of those. And I'm going to say this right now, this is only going to be a 2-parter. We're not going to see any more. So I am expecting that now that we've been introduced to these flashy effects that he's decided to bring to us, he gave us a taste of a pie. Now we want more of that pie. But we're not. So he gave us a taste of like 8 different pies. 8 different, let's say like 6 or 7 different pies. And like 6 of them we're never going to see again. Even if we want them, we're not going to see them again. It's just not going to happen. So, out of 6 or 7 planets, we're not going to see 90% of them, or 99% of them. So we're going to see 1 planet, possibly in the new movie, maybe 2 at most. But that's it. We're not going to see the other ones. Like, it doesn't matter about those. The story doesn't go with those anymore. Those planets don't matter. So, to me, that's kind of like really falling short of a real space opera, because in other space operas, and yes, as much as I hate to refer it, in Star Wars, we only got to see a couple planets. We saw Alderaan, we saw Tatooine, and then we had a space battle. And then we had Hoth, Andor, Coruscant, Naboo, and all of those came, and we got a couple new planets within a couple movies. But, and you know, now out of that whole franchise, we got TV series to follow up on and stuff like that, where stories can evolve around the space opera. The problem with this, I'm just not seeing what other stories we really have besides the main people here. One of the things that this was supposed to be it was supposed to be different, but there are things that we're never gonna really see anymore. And there's things that's never gonna be visited. Supposedly there is rumors of a compendium where he goes in and explains the universe a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know. So I'm kind of disappointed in that. So let's see, what else am I disappointed in? Character backstories, lack of world building, not knowing the backstories of each and every planet. I think the acting was okay. Wasn't the best acting, but it wasn't the worst either. I've seen worse acting. For those who want to see even worse acting, I'm pretty sure you guys can just turn on something. So, I can't even think of a movie that has worse acting right now. Oh, you know, here's one. You want to see something with really bad acting in it? Go to Tony Amendola voiced King Leviticus. He played Master Breaktack from Star. Yeah, I know that. I do know that. So if you guys want to see something about worse acting, just watch Lightyear. Yeah, that was terrible. Um, and I know we're picking on Disney a little bit, and I really shouldn't. So, okay. All right. So what else did I hate? Oh, one thing I hated. The two things I hated is the starships. I hated the starship design. They looked so much like a submarine. They weren't edgy at all. They weren't sleek. They weren't streamlined. They were bulky, hard to move, and and supposedly they have a hyperdrive. And the only reason why we know they have a hyperdrive is because a starship emerges from a space vagina, which I am sorry, it looks like a damn vagina, and it was too much like that. I think that was done on purpose. Definitely do not let your kids watch this movie. For those adults, do not. If you let your kids watch this movie, that's on you. But I don't think it would be very parental fine. Yes, it says PG-13 on it. I also wouldn't go with that. The other issue that I do have with the film is the supposed unrated version that's supposed to come out. It's supposed to be unrated, unedited version that's supposed to come out by summer of next year, where it's supposed to restore an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours of the film. So, yes, the cuts and edits and the censorship is heavily in there. You can notice that. I will tell you that right now. You can notice that. So, that's done terribly. The bulky design of the ships, I can't copy in that Japanese style like Battleship Yamamoto. I hated Battleship Yamamoto. I'm sorry, I don't like ships that are not streamlined. I don't like what I mean by streamlined is they look like there's things that should be bigger in them, but they're actually smaller parts of the ship. Of course I'm talking like stuff like the Millennium Falcon, the freaking freighter that they used for one of the guys, the freighter that they're traveling on is literally a trash freighter, and you can tell it's a trash freighter. Let me see if I can look up a trash freighter in Star Trek a little bit. I don't know which. I gotta also look up the facts on this one here real quick too. I'm gonna real quick share this because garbage cow. Or scow. Okay. So this is something that was used in a lot. I'm gonna switch it out real quick, just to show you guys some of this stuff because this is what I mean by streamlined. And I did look up this picture here. So, all right. So this is a garbage scow in Star Trek. Yeah, it doesn't look much different, but it's not literally fully capable to taking on a real actual starship. This is what you call a Malon. Was this a Malon garbage scow or let me see here. I wouldn't say that's the Malon one. That looks like one of the garbage scows from like the earlier timelines. It's not very fast. It's not very weaponistic, anything like that. So it's supposed to look like that. But I mean, the freighter. But this is. But you can look at right here. This is a garbage scow. Here is the three. You can't see it on my screen, but there is on the side there, and it's like that on the same side for symmetrical reasons. 3 garbage points, but then that's it. Okay, so the freighter that we got in Rebel Moon. Let's see here. Can I get Kai's freighter? Which we don't even have any pictures of. We have no pictures of these frickin' freighters. Okay, here we go. Oh, God, that's a horrible image. But it's the only one we've got. Horrible. So this is Kai's ship. This is the problem that I had with Kai's ship. And Kai is one of the main characters in there. And of course it would be mostly like high definition, mostly bullshit. I just wanted the damn fucking ship. Excuse my language. That is literally a ship. You've got, on the side, you've got literally what looks to be canisters. Like, what are you going to do with those? Like, you're not going to go outside and cut yourself loose. And it's controlled by underneath thrusters, flame thrusters, and upward thrusters. I mean, I guess that's supposed to look like that. I don't know. That just does not look edgy. Like, landing gear is kind of... ugh. It doesn't look like it can maneuver very well either. That was the other issue I had with the ships. The ships did not look very maneuverable at all. They didn't look like they could really... Like, I was hoping for a space battle, and I didn't even get that. So, I was kind of disappointed in that, too. No, it doesn't even look like a spacecraft. I can agree with you on that one, Spartacus. Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that one. And this is the main like, okay, and this is like in this picture here up in the right corner is the main dreadnought of the class called the King's Gaze. I don't know about it. So yeah, horrible script writing, no backstories, lack of world building, starships suck, didn't look like anything for maneuverability. Few other things. So, okay, and so we mentioned the lack of proper backstories for each and every character, and then now we have moved on to the starships, which actually sucked. Oh yes, my final thing that I had issue with the film was the overuse of the slow-mo. It seemed like during the entire battle, like, there was, like, a scene where the entire battle was done in slow-mo. It wasn't just slow-mo part, it was literally the entire battle done in slow-mo. That was overly used, it was annoying, and I hated that. So, but that's what he does. He thinks the slow-mo fights look edgy. The slow-mo fights look edgy, but they really do not, and I don't agree with them, and I don't like them. So, another thing that slow-mo does that actually Spartacus did make me aware of is you can actually see a lot of flaws in the fighting. It's very highly noticeable, which actually breaks the illusion of a movie of entertainment, so I will say that. Alright, so this review has gone on for 25 minutes. I have listed what I liked about the film. I've listed what I disliked about the film. Now it's time for, I've criticized it, so that's enough out of me for criticizing. It's time for the ratings. So, due to the use of color, creativity, outfit design, races, use of races, and the fact that it did have all the science fiction space opera tropes that everyone would love to have, great for that. Definitely give it an 8 out of 10. It's also receiving an 8 out of 10 because it has lack of world building, lack and lazy script writing of backstories, lack the fact that, okay, there are characters that are no longer in the movie that we'll no longer see on the backstories. We only get a brief glimpse at them, and then that's it. Heck, with with Fleet Admiral Tarkin, we actually got more. With other shows, we got more. Other movies, we got more. We're not going to get any more on some of this, which actually, he did bring in some, like, the characters were damn good, and he's already taken some of that away. And the shitty part is he's introduced new characters already that were side characters. Now they're not side characters. Now they're part of the main characters. So that's fucking weird. For that, he's getting an 8 out of 10. I would say 7 out of 10. Now, before we go into this, let me at least justify my rating of why I give it such a high remark. One, it is not the worst movie I've ever seen this year. I've seen worse movies this year where I look at it and go, God, this really sucks. I've seen too many of those. This is the third. If I don't pick this movie as something I like, that means I only liked 2 movies this year, and that's it. And then I didn't like any other movies. And I've seen I think this year I've seen a dozen of movies, a dozen of them, and I only ended up liking 2. I ended up buying more, but I only ended up liking 2, maybe 3. So this is only 3 or 4 out of a handful of dozen of movies. So, yes, there was another movie I did see this year. One movie that I would say that actually we did get this year that sucked was that Date movie with Jennifer Lawrence. I didn't care for that. It had all the tropes of a chick flick. I will give it that. But it was way too comedic and was not serious tone enough. And someone really got their feelings hurt and bunch of bullshit. So, but we're not going to go on that. Like I said, I've seen worse movies this year. So, I give it a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. Now, I've also contemplated one more thing. Going into the next movie, because I am going to watch the second part to this. Going into the next movie, I am only going in with an 8 out of 10. No, I lied. 7 out of 10. The next movie has already got a 7 out of 10 rating for me, which is both good and bad. It's good because if it's better and they finally fill in the gaps that we get, then they're going to get a higher rating out of me on the next review. However, I'm already going into this film pre-disappointed because there are things that was in this first film that we're no longer going to get and that we didn't even get a full plate of. It's like I said, we got a piece of a pie and said, hey, I would like that pie. And basically Zack Snyder goes, no, we're not going to give you no more of this pie. He's going to give you samples of each pie, but you're going to go with pie number 1. No matter if you like it or dislike it, you're going to eat pie number 1. The other pies you're going to get a sample of. You're going to say if you like it or not, and if you want more of it, and if you want more, that's fine. You're not getting any more. So because of that, I'm going to be very harsh on the new judging on the second part when it comes out. It's going to start off with a 7 out of 10. If they stay the same, it's going to drop that score severely below it'll drop from a 7 to a 5 quickly. And then it will go lesser than that. And then we will judge the average duology once both of them are out. The unrated versions are not going to get a review out of me. So from my understanding, we're going to get both unrated versions. I'm not even going to watch them. I hear there's supposed to be some things. I hear it's going to be more adult themed than the regular version. So here's what I'm going to say about that. They get 0 out of 10, and I don't like them from out there because I do not have time to sit down and watch a 4 or 5 hour movie. I do not understand why we didn't get that movie to start with and why we got this one. And because we got this one the way it is, I am never going to watch the unrated versions. It has I have no interest in seeing it. And no, it's not because I'm my father or anything like that. I am not going to let my kids watch this film either because I think that would be irresponsible for me as a parent. It clearly, I was maybe expecting a bit more out of this, and we didn't get it, so that's why I'm, like I said, 7, 8 out of 10. 7 is the lowest score I'm going to give, 8 is the highest it'll ever get, and then when I go into the second part, I'm going in the second part with a 7, and the first thing I don't like, if I see something, and it's going to be judged harshly, know that ahead of time. It's going to be judged harshly because I think it could be better, but I don't think we're going to get that. I really don't. I don't have high hopes. I had better high hopes for this because I'm a science fiction fan to no end. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. However, what's happening with, and I love Stargate, but with what's happening with those franchises, they're either dead or they're just being taken in a direction that makes no sense to what I think they really stand for. That's the business of those companies. I don't care. Point is, they don't get me as a viewer. That's awesome. So anyway, the first thing I don't like is automatically going to drop the score from a 7 to a 5. And I will say this, the other rule that I will follow is I cannot change that. Once I willingly drop it from a 7 to a 5, it cannot go back up. From there, if they do better in the film, it will be receive nothing more than a 5 out of 10. Even if they somehow do better, because I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. So that's my rule. Which unfortunately, if I keep it like that, the duology is not going to really receive much of a decent rating as a dual thing. But we will see. It's a bit early for me to be judging on that. I'm just saying where I stand with this because it's just not. I just don't think it's just gonna be a good fit. I really don't. And then if it drops any lower than that, it will hurt the average rating as an entire duology. If this was supposed to be a TV series, it would have been better. If this was a series of books, it would have been better. If we would have had some syntax into more world building, it would have automatically been better. But unfortunately, that's the reason why I'm going into the future to the next film, is because there are things we didn't get out of this film that I don't think we're going to get in the next one either. And they're not going to really make up for it. So we'll have to see. I could be wrong. And if I stand wrong, I will come on here and say I was wrong. But I somehow don't think I will be. So would have had more room to grow if it was a TV series and treated more as a saga instead of a two-parter. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Sparta, is that it's literally a two-parter. I don't think we're going to get everything out there. I think we're still going to get... So I think at the end of the second part, we're going to get the following. Underdeveloped world building. Shitty-ass backstories, which that's not going to change. So that's not going to change anything. We're still going to get all the flashiness and all the other stuff we got out of this film. But what I'm trying to figure out, what are we going to get in the next film? We don't know. I hope I get my space battle. If I don't get that automatically is going to drop that 5. Like, the first thing I don't like is going to drop it from a 7 to a 5. And then if I don't get the space battle, that'll drop it from a 5 to a 4. That'll be on then. The whole thing about having space opera is to be able to have ships that can battle in space. But I think the way the bulkiness is, I just don't see it. I just don't see it working. I really don't. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. So, it's very possible that we're not going to really see much out of this. So I do see some common questions on Twitter and whatnot. Are people going to remember this movie in 5 years? Yes. Are people going to remember this movie as a classic within 10 years? No. I don't see that happening. I do see this as being seen as a movie that, like, hey, he had a great idea, but he dropped the ball somewhere. I don't know. And maybe a better writer? Yeah. I think that it should have been... I think we should have had more of... So, here's the reason why I was disappointed. We didn't get a whole lot of information, but supposedly Zack Snyder was working on this for years. I don't see this being a multiple-year project, to be honest. If it is, then go back to the drawing board. Because you didn't really give us a whole lot out of these last few years. I don't know what you were doing. But, I know he didn't have a whole lot of movies coming out in the last 3 years alone. So I know you had one here and there. You had like two, Army of Darkness, or not Army of Darkness, Army of the Dead and Army of Thieves. So I don't know at what point we didn't get our questions asked and answered. So unfortunately, I think if we had more of a sample and Zack didn't go around and go in, well, this is only going to be a two-parter. I got a two-part movie series. To me, that's copying Dune. But Dune told a better story in two parts. And even the first Dune had a better story. And even the book had a better story. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have pre-exposure to this. This was the pre-exposure right here. We got the pre-exposure and the regular exposure all at once. So it was, I think it was just too much at once. So, but like I said, I still stand by my ratings: 7 out of 10 at lowest, 8 out of 10 at the highest. And then my plan is if I don't get much there, yeah, it's not gonna not gonna look good, because the second film's gonna even be harsh, because then I'm gonna feel like we're gonna episode 8. It's gonna be what you call episode 8'd. Basically, we got nothing, and we just got flashy effects for a 2-hour entertainment. So, and I don't have time to see a 4 or 5 hour movie. Trust me, I've been trying to see the extended cut of Lord of the Rings, and I sat through 5 of those freaking films of extended cuts, and I still can't get through. The longest one is Return of the King, and I still can't get through it. So that's because of lack of time. So those other movies will never be reviewed. So in my book, they will stand at a 0, because we should have gotten that first. You can say money, you can say this, you can say that. I don't care. If this is what... Show me what you're intending to show me, but don't go and say, here's a sample of this pie. Now I'm going to take this away and give you a better sample of this pie. I didn't fucking want that. That's a waste of my time. No, I refuse to watch the Justice League Snyder cut, because I refuse to watch it because of the length. And because I don't have time for it. And all that stuff, so... Well, that's everything I have at this time. I hope this review was very informative. If not, I'm sorry. If it was, great. Be nice to everybody. Be kind. Don't be a dick. I know we've got a lot of that going on out there. To remember to love thy neighbor, love each other. And no, I'm not saying that from a religious standpoint. Literally, we need to have more respect for one another than what we do have. So, but that's just my personal view. I like meeting new people all the time and having new people in my life. So, let's hope we can make a better tomorrow. Well, on that, for everyone who's tuned in, thank you, and have a great and wonderful evening.